Hey everyone, Eric with Rockin H. We're going to talk about how Heather's really cool W900 was made along with the bottle that goes with it. Let's get started. What we started out with is a stock DCP W900L. You'll notice right away that the backside of the sleeper is missing those fairings or skirts, whatever you want to call them, on the backside. Those were cut off and then sanded smooth. You'll even notice though that normally I would just shave the whole back side, but this time I left the rivets that were there and a couple of other items. We have a shorter looking sleeper that way. Second, you'll notice that some of the rivets are missing on the sleeper itself up here in the front. That was for one purpose, and you'll notice in another video that I have, I showed why I did that and how I did that, and that was to get these paint lines nice and straight on the sleeper. Those rivets cause a little trouble when you're trying to mask and lay tape. You know, the tape just doesn't lay over all those rivets real well, and then you can get paint bleed. Even if you seal it, you can get paint bleed, and it's just kind of a pain. That's the reason to have removed all of these rivets. And actually, I think it looks a little better, frankly. All rivets around the window here and that cabinet, all of that's been removed. So how do we do this paint? I got a whole nother video showing you how I tape this, so I won't go into that. So we'll just keep continuing with the details on what went with this. On the driver's side here we have a 150-gallon fuel tank that is 3D printed from my store, and a def tank that is a takeoff part from another truck or some other build that I had. Frame was shortened to give it the appearance of the real truck. That was accomplished by using this deck plate and then this 3D printed third axle holder. So rather than using channel or some other type of material to join these two parts, the frame itself was glued together gently with BSI glue, and then I used the deck plate and the 3D printed triaxle part to give it strength. And then what's kind of nice is the wheel here and the fender kind of cover up the seam back behind it, which I really like. The third axle was a takeoff part from a DCP truck. The third axle holder here is 3D printed and sold in my store along with this experimental fender. I actually have a 3D printed axle that I made because I couldn't find enough of these. This just happened to come on another donor that I had. But then I built the fender to go over this wheel so it fits a little tighter like the real one, which is what I was going for. The double hump fenders are sold in my store and give it a clean look. These were not altered in any fashion. Down here there's a piece of chrome, which is just a leftover piece of tape from some lights that I have printed and use on these trucks. This down here on the fenders and below the air can is Molotov chrome, and then I had a Kenworth decal to go right here behind the fender. The herd bumper is actually for a 379 Peterbilt, but it fits so well. I like it much better than the actual Kenworth herd bumper that goes on these trucks. The Kenworth bumper does not have the nifty pivoting arms here where you can make it function if that's important. So everything does function, and it fits just fine. It really works well. It's not a perfect fit, but it looks a lot better than the one that actually is supposed to go on this truck, so that's why I'm using that. That is also sold in my store. Stock visor, because that matches the real truck. Stock exhaust, again matching the real truck. This is a Peterbilt fuel tank. Rather than using the stock tank, I needed just a big round tank to go down the side and fill in this gap, which it gives the appearance that it's the correct size. I really have no idea what the factory tanks, how many gallons they were, so I just had to eyeball the correct size on that, and this one fit the bill. I did manage to get some mud flaps on the back. The real truck does have these mud flaps tucked in behind the double hump fenders. It didn't fit perfectly just because, you know, you do your best to get everything to fit right, but at the end of the day you're limited by, you know, different designers create things obviously differently, and you know, you're kind of limited to what they can, you know, just you're limited by space, so you got to do the best job you can. They do look pretty good, and luckily once a bottle is on it, you won't notice that they're not perfectly straight on there and perpendicular. One thing I failed to mention was I did put some washers over here. I got a whole video showing you what washers I use and all that different stuff to go and make these spaces a little bit better and cleaner. From the factory, there are big plastic spacers that go in here on the third axle on these trucks. Well, sometimes that doesn't give me the correct space, so these washers are perfect, and there's 3 tiny washers in there. And again, check out that video on how to do that. And you'll notice that now that I have this upside down, I'm seeing I failed to put a drive line underneath there, which I will do when we're done. So that is how this truck is made. Really cool looking rig. I like that just a whole lot. This one, I always say, there are some trucks I wish I would have made 2 of. This is one of them. Yeah, it's just a really pretty truck. We'll move over to the bottle. Now, what's kind of funny about this isn't actually the correct bottle to go with this truck. I thought it was a propane bottle in the photos that she sent me, and I should have asked. I didn't get clarity, my fault. But they actually pull a anhydride tank instead of a propane tank. So I have a propane or an anhydride tank that's supposed to arrive as I'm recording this video, I hope today. So hopefully that'll come in. Basically all I have to do is I got to put a new decal on it, and then this triaxle part is really cool and sold by Precision Models. And I really like this because you basically just take out the screws that hold the factory one in, and this one, after you paint it and do whatever you want to it, bolts right into the same factory holes. And talk about a stupid simple triaxle piece to put on, and it's clean. Look how clean and neat that looks. This is just a really remarkable part and really worth buying, so I'm just so pleased with this part. The double hump fenders are sold in my store, the single hump fenders are sold in my store. And what's really nice about this particular style of single fender is they have flat spots. You can probably see this right here, but there's a flat spot which these glue to this part so clean and neat. So all I did was shot these with silver paint to give them the appearance of aluminum and stuck them on. This particular part of the build only took just minutes to get done after I painted it. You know, just really simple and gives it a cool look. So that is the bottle. Overall, I'm very pleased with this build. Turned out super sweet. Heather is delighted. We just got to get the proper bottle on this truck, and then it will be ready to go home. And that is how this particular truck was made. Thanks for watching. Hope it helps.